At 7:42 on a rainy Tuesday morning, Daniel Cross decided to quit his life. Not his job, not his apartment, his life. He didn't stand on a bridge or write a goodbye letter. He simply looked out the window of the crowded subway, saw his own reflection in the glass pale, hollow-eyed, 33 years old, and knew with absolute clarity, this is not the man I was supposed to become. The train rattled on. No one noticed him. No one ever did. And that was the problem. Daniel worked as an insurance claims adjuster, a job that paid enough to keep him afloat, but not enough to make him feel alive. His days were numbers, forms, signatures. Evenings were microwave dinners and television static. He hadn't painted in 15 years. Once, art had been his oxygen. He'd won contests, sold a few pieces. But when his father died, responsibility swallowed him whole. He told himself he'd come back to it someday. Someday never came. That Tuesday morning, something about the way the rain streaked the subway window cracked him open. The memory of his first painting, a storm over a wheat field, flashed so vividly that he could almost smell the oil paint again. At work, he stared at the stacks of claims on his desk until the numbers blurred. His boss droned in the background, but Daniel couldn't hear. His chest felt tight. What if this is it, he thought. What if I die having never started? The thought didn't leave. It pulsed in his skull all afternoon. By the time 5 o'clock came, his decision was made. Daniel walked past the subway entrance and kept going. His shoes soaked through in the rain. He didn't care. He walked until the city thinned, until the streets turned to houses and the houses to open fields. By midnight, he stood outside the studio of his old art teacher, a small building behind a farmhouse. Lights were still on. Inside, the air was warm, smelling of turpentine and cedar shavings. At the far end, an old man hunched over a canvas. "Daniel," the old man said without turning, "I wondered when you'd come back." Daniel froze. He hadn't spoken to Mr. Heron in over a decade. How? "I've been painting long enough to know when a man's starving for it. You think I didn't see you wasting yourself? Every year that passed, you got smaller." Daniel's throat tightened. Heron pointed to an easel. "Paint something. Anything. Don't think. Just begin." His hands shook as he picked up a brush. The first stroke felt wrong. The second felt worse. But by the 10th, something shifted. His heartbeat matched the rhythm of the strokes. The noise of the world fell away. He didn't notice Heron watching him. When Daniel finally stepped back, hours had passed. The canvas wasn't good, not technically, but it was alive. Heron nodded once. "There's your proof." Proof of what? That the second you choose to begin, you're no longer the same man who hesitated. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He painted until dawn. And when the sun came, so did the reality. His savings wouldn't last. The city wouldn't wait for him. That's when Heron told him the truth. The old man was dying. Months, maybe weeks. He wanted Daniel to take over the studio, not as a student, but as an artist. You think beginnings come when you're ready? No, they come when you're desperate enough to grab them. Daniel never went back to the insurance office. He never reclaimed the quiet, unnoticed life he'd had. The studio became his sanctuary. Some days were brutal. Paintings failed, bills piled up, doubt whispered in his ear at night. But every morning, he began again. And somewhere between the failures and the breakthroughs, he understood. Beginnings are not clean. They're not safe. They're jagged, terrifying things that demand you bleed for them. But they are the only way to become who you're meant to be. Mr. Harron's easel still stood in the corner after he was gone. He kept it there, untouched, as a reminder. Because he knew, no matter what came next, his life had already changed the moment he picked up that brush, the second he chose to begin.